Hello everyone, I'm Jyotsna Nair from EXTC Sem 5, and in this episode of Connected Series, adventured by Flames Alumni Association of FCRIT, we have Mr. Sahil Mattu. Mr. Sahil Mattu passed out of FCRIT in 2007 with a major in computer science and has worked with different organizations in the last 14 years. He worked at Pillars College, Panvel for 6 months and then moved to Bangalore to join First Advantage. In 2010, he joined IBM and there he had many roles like testing lead, application manager, project manager, delivery manager, and data scientist. In 2019, he joined DXC, where he started as data manager and moved up to NLP architect. Meanwhile, he started his PGP course from Great Lakes Institute of Management in 2017 and worked with them in weekends along with Upgrade and Simply Learn and take courses in artificial intelligence and machine learning. What skills would you say is required to be a data scientist, and what are the tools and techniques you regularly use?
Core skill set from the data scientist per se would be to be a good data analyst, to be able to understand and like the data. And the skills per se, you should be a little bit better with your maths, have a little bit of analytical bend, able to think in terms of finding the patterns. And tools, what we usually use is mostly R, Python. Now, if you will say cloud, then AWS, Google, GCP, Colab.
So, who is an NLP architect?
Okay, NLP architect. Architect in general, solution architect is someone who designs the problem, end to end. So for that person, the problem starts from capturing the data till it becomes a finished code which can be used or consumed. So what happens when you are building an end-to-end pipeline? You have to think about how I create a data can be consumed by others. So for an NLP architect, key criteria would be how are you going to read the text, which way you are going to process it, how you want to clean it, how do you want to consume it, what inference you can understand out of it, and how will you use it. And in today's time, it would be more important to understand how do you apply the latest encoding techniques on your data, to choose between them, to understand the pros and cons.
Sir, can you share any experience where the company you worked at made an impact on you?
So I have worked most of the time in IBM. So what I've learned in IBM was that although I moved there as in a tech space which was more into the testing, my initial goal was to move from testing to automation testing. But as I moved, I realized
you also need to learn about the business part, because if you don't understand the business part,
you won't be able to think as a better developer. So that's what I learned in IBM, and that's why would you see that there were so many management roles in between.
So data science is booming field now, and a lot of people aspire to be data science. So you yourself processed from a testing lead to a data scientist. So how should one follow a path to become a data scientist?
Okay, so if you are joining as a fresher in a field, so I would say focus on the statistics, maths. In maths, I would say focus more on vector algebra, linear algebra, because these are the things which will get used. I'll give a very basic example. If you watch an IPL match, the important question is which metric you would like to have to analyze which is a good batsman. Is it a number of 6, number of 4s, the consistency, the highest one can do, or performing in a crunch situation? So that's where statistics information come handy, and we are doing it all day in, day out. Whenever by taking small decisions, which route should I follow? Should I take a train or should I take an auto? Planning things or putting things into a perspective, keeping the metric is a key essential goal in data science. So if you are serious about that, I would say whichever problem comes to you, try to analyze it, try to find a metric for it, try to find that threshold after which you will say yes, I'm going to do it.
So next question would be, how do you handle missing data and what imputation techniques do you recommend?
Yeah, good question. So, missing data from academic point of view, what you would see is apply mean, median, mode depending upon it is a categorical or a numerical data and replace it. But usually, missing data should be handled based on a domain you are handling. For example, you take a COVID cases and you see per day you are hitting in lakhs. Would it be right to take a mean and median there? The answer would be not right. Maybe you should take a previous value as a missing value. Let's say you have a data for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and you want a data for Wednesday, which is missing. So rather than taking an average of last 10-15 days, it might be better to take a data for Wednesday as whatever was on Tuesday, because that's how things are going. Or you may create a new method of finding a missing value. Or missing value can be found as applying KNN and try to see where exactly the data point falls in the overall. So, be it stock market or COVID cases or any other specific domain. So, missing value should be handled based on how the data is. That would be my answer.
How do you think like a data scientist?
I think all fields require analytics. So, the way you have to think about is, I would say that whenever you get a problem, you need to think what is the best way to correlate with it. For example, let's say you are doing a business in India or want to understand how do I understand difference between what I make 1 lakh in India versus how much I would have made in another country. So someone would come and say the conversion ratio is 1 to 75 and 1 lakh is equal to 75 lakh or 1 CR is equal to 75 CR. But that might not be the best way to handle it. At the same time, someone who is more close to macroeconomics will come and say, let me take the nominal GDP of India, that is around $1.6 trillion, and let me take a PPP, that is around 10 point some trillion dollars. So roughly it's a 3 times. Because at the end of the day, you are not comparing currency, you are comparing the amount that we have to think in a very, from a business perspective or from the very domain problem to problem oriented.
So what are your top predictions for the next 10 to 15 years?
Prediction, I'm not big enough to predict anything. But what I feel is things that will change in 20 years, or the perception about the things that will change is, first would be the cloud. Today's cloud is same as what Windows was in 1995. A lot of people said it's not going to be my area, be it bank, post offices or those areas. Come to 2020, everyone is using computers. So in 10-15 years, all those who feel cloud is not going to be part of their life might have to rethink. Second thing I believe is that the area of core programming, that might not see the same pace that it has seen in last 20 years. I think the focus will be more on the core subjects that we study in our 11th, 12th and engineering. There would be a lot of focus on physics, there will be a lot of focus on chemistry. A conceptual way of understanding maths and basic core subjects in engineering would take a higher precedence over just knowing a programming language. Third thing would be probably that at present we have prioritized more on technology as a cornerstone of changing humanity. Or in tech buzzword, a new word comes and it changes everything. I think going onwards in next 5-10 years, the focus would be the things that will create more curiosity would be the things that change humanity, that actually impact you, that make things, for example, Alexa, I'll say, things like such things will take precedence over getting a new programming language or getting a new way of interpreting the data or new data structure or anything over there. So in short, if I have to club all three, the future is that you would be expected to become Tony Stark.
That is a great answer, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.